Good morning. It's Friday, the 12th of December, and today marks a very special day in Austria's railway history, as today is the day that a brand new high-speed railway line, the Koralmbahn, is opened, connecting the two regional capitals of Graz and Klagenfurt in just 41 minutes, completely transforming the way that people will be travelling in Austria and even further beyond that. With a total length of 133 kilometres, 50 kilometres of tunnels and nearly 3 decades of construction time, it is amongst the most significant railway infrastructure projects in Europe. Together, we're going to find out what makes this project so extraordinary and what passengers can expect from this new high-speed connection. The Koralmbahn is a completely new railway line in southern Austria, connecting the two regional capital cities, Graz and Klagenfurt, by a direct rail link for the first time in history. To find the last time that two Austrian cities were connected by a completely new railway, we have to go back to the year of 1905. This is when the Koralmbahn was opened, which provided a new link between Salzburg, Villach and Klagenfurt. As this was still the era of the Habsburg monarchy, we can tell that projects like these happen only once in a century. And of course, the construction methods have evolved significantly since then. The Koralmbahn forms part of the Baltic Adriatic Corridor, one of the core routes of the Trans-European network. This corridor aims at creating a high-capacity rail link from the Baltic region in northern Poland through the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Austria and Slovenia down to Italy and the Adriatic Sea. Within Austria, this project also has an important significance. While the main western line from Vienna to Salzburg has already been enhanced in the last few years, when you want to go down south, railway connections for both passengers and freight have been very slow. Mountainous terrain and railway alignments, which have remained almost the same since the time of the monarchy, mean that the railway operations were inefficient and not competitive compared to road transport. Until now, the main southern line from Vienna used to split up at Bruck an der Mur, with one line continuing on to Graz, while the other continues on to Klagenfurt and Villach. The Koralmbahn will change this, connecting all these cities onto one line, hence bundling resources more efficiently. As the Koralmbahn is built to enable a top speed of 250 km per hour, journey times will be cut significantly. The most important reduction, of course, being Graz to Klagenfurt, currently taking 3 hours by train or 2 hours by an intercity bus, will now be possible in only 41 minutes. But also connections between Vienna and Klagenfurt and further on to Slovenia and Italy will improve. This will especially be the case after 2030, when a second new line, the Semmering Base Tunnel, will be completed, and together with the Koralmbahn, this railway corridor will be able to unwrap its full potential. The infrastructure project can roughly be split into 3 segments: the section between Graz and Weststeiermark on the Styrian side, the section between Klagenfurt and St. Paul im Lavantal on the Carinthian side, and the highlight of the project, the Koralmtunnel, a 32-kilometre long tunnel which runs underneath the Koralpen Mountains and is the 6th longest railway tunnel in the entire world. And so we can understand that the opening of this railway line is a cause for celebration, with opening events in both Graz and Klagenfurt, many prominent guests who are invited to hold speeches, and crowds of people who have gathered to be part of this incredible event. And of course, there are also some special train services running along the Koralmbahn. The first train was for specially invited guests, although later on there would also be trains for the general public. To use these trains, you had to purchase a special ticket though, and these were sold out very quickly. But I was not too disappointed about this, as I had already had something else lined up. As 2 days later, when the regular passenger trains will start running, I was planning to catch the very first regular train along the Koralmbahn. After some traditional Styrian dancing, all the VIPs boarded the railjet train before it left Graz Hauptbahnhof bang on time at 11 a.m. Even though the 14th of December marks the opening of the Koralmbahn, at least for regular passenger trains, there are some parts of the line which have already been open for several years, some even over a decade. One such section is the connection between Werndorf and Wettmannstetten, which has already been open since 2010 and has since been served by trains operated by the Graz-Köflacher-Bahn. The new connection enabled services from the Weserbahn to reach Graz 20 minutes quicker than via its old route. Hence, the Koralmbahn is not only for intercity trains and freight trains, but also has regional benefits. As opposed to high-speed lines in countries like France or Spain, which are almost solely used for high-speed trains, in Austria, high-speed lines are generally always used in mix operation with local trains and freight trains, as the geographical and demographic conditions make this the most appropriate solution. Nonetheless, there is also a section on the Styrian side that is opening this year, an underground tunnel passing underneath Graz Airport. Originally, there were plans to build a new station at Graz Airport, and the building shell for this new station was even constructed. However, several years before completion, it was announced that this station will not be finished, as adding too many stations would slow down railway services too much, hence defeating the object of a high-speed railway line. Passengers wanting to catch a plane will probably more rather travel straight onto Vienna Airport anyway, which offers a much higher variety of flight destinations. The first major station along the Koralmbahn where long-distance trains will stop is the station Weststeiermark. Similar to the station Tullnerfeld in Lower Austria, it is a station that is primarily designed as an interchange and park-and-ride station, serving a wider area. As the station sits in the middle of nowhere, the only option for me to get there prior to its opening, that is, if you are only using public transport, was by walking a 30-minute walk through the countryside from the Graz-Köflacher-Bahn station Groß St. Florian. 2 days before the opening of this station, everything still feels relatively quiet, although there are some cars in the car park and people walking around who are probably nosy and want to look around the new station. One thing that's also quite nice here at Weststeiermark railway station is that you have a large outdoor exhibition that shows you lots of interesting information, all to do with the Koralmbahn, including a real-life replica of the cross-section of the tunnel inside, the Koralmtunnel. And at the back, you even have a part of the old tunnel boring machine, which was used to dig through the Koralpe. During the construction of the Koralmtunnel, 3 such tunnel boring machines were used, although some of the works also had to be done using diggers and blasting technology. The Koralmtunnel actually consists of 2 separate tunnels, each with 1 track inside, although the tunnels are connected with each other about every 500 metres. In the middle of the tunnel, there is an evacuation station that can be used in the case of emergencies. As a regular passenger, you will hopefully never have the need to visit this station, but back in June of this year, I already had an opportunity to ride through the Koralmtunnel as part of an event organised by the ÖVG, the Austrian Association of Transport Sciences. This included a ride from Graz to St. Paul im Lavantal on a Desiro mainline train, the type that are usually used for S-Bahn and regional services. On the way back, the train also stopped at an evacuation station, and hence I also had a one-time opportunity to look around there.
Bitte folgen Sie dem grünen Flugdrückkennzeichen bis in den weiter entfernten Wartebereich. Bewahren Sie Ruhe und helfen Sie Ihren Mitreisenden. Warten Sie auf Anweisungen des Zugpersonals.
The Koralmbahn is equipped with an extensive range of passenger safety systems, so extensive in fact that around 15% of the total project costs were spent on safety measures alone. In the months leading up to the opening, emergency services carried out numerous large-scale exercises along the line, familiarising themselves with the infrastructure and rehearsing a wide range of emergency scenarios. Those drills were officially completed well before the start of regular operations. But on the 12th of December, as I was standing at Weststeiermark station, I suddenly noticed a long convoy of emergency vehicles racing past the station. Had the emergency services already been called into action, even before the first regular passenger trains would start running in 2 days' time. So something weird just happened. I was just looking around the station at Weststeiermark, and well, all of a sudden there were lots of emergency vehicles, fire engines, ambulances, driving around. And then people came from the emergency services and said that we should leave the premises because apparently there is a fire in the Koralmtunnel. And well, what we know is that thankfully there was no train operating through the tunnel at the moment, so everybody is safe as far as we know. But yeah, what a thing to happen on the very first day. And well, let's see what effects this is going to have in the next couple of days. What initially appeared to be a serious situation later turned out to be a rather bizarre incident. The alert was triggered by what was believed to be smoke coming out of the tunnel, but it was actually only dust, stirred up by a railjet train. That may sound surprising, especially given that test runs had been underway for around 6 months. However, ÖBB CEO Andreas Maté explained that dust being lifted by passing trains can still occur for up to a year after operations begin. While some special services had to be cancelled as a precaution, the incident had no impact on the start of regular passenger services, which began as scheduled on Sunday. It's Sunday, the 14th of December, the day that regular operations on the Koralmbahn finally begin. The first train to run over the new line is Railjet 655, departing Villach Central Station at 4:29 in the morning and heading for Vienna International Airport. After following the existing line down to Klagenfurt, where a significant number of passengers board the train continues on to the Koralmbahn.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Railjet 655 to Vienna International Airport. Steckert, Kiesdorf, St. Paul, Weststeiermark, Graz, Buchenhamur, Kampfenberg mit Zuschlag, Wiener Neustadt, Wien, Meidling, Wien Hauptbahnhof. Information in the front of the train prevent the first class, the business class and the dining car. Next regular stop is Kunstorf.
A few trains per day, including the one I was on, additionally also stop at Kunstorf-Klopeinersee. With stops spaced roughly 10 to 15 minutes apart, the journey feels more like a regional express train rather than a classic high-speed service. Nonetheless, the driver made an effort to reach the full speed of 230 km per hour, even though, to be fair, this probably wouldn't have been necessary, given the stops are so close together. After passing through the Koralmtunnel, we arrived at Weststeiermark station, where I decided to get off and look around a bit. So I've now just got off at the station Weststeiermark. This is the very first regular passenger train to have ever stopped at this station. We even got here 5 minutes early, so it seems like there's quite a lot of puffer in the timetable. And what's really nice, we were greeted by people from the municipality here, and they gave us a nice goodie bag with some breakfast inside. So this is a really nice little gesture. Unlike when I visited the station 2 days earlier, this time the station building was actually open, something very welcome on a cold, icy morning. The interior is modern and spacious, with seating areas spread across multiple levels and even a small exhibition displaying archaeological finds uncovered during the construction of the Koralmbahn. There's also space set aside for shop, although the premises are still vacant for now. Next, I will be catching a German intercity express train back to Villach again. These trains will now also be regularly running on the Koralmbahn, offering direct connections up to Salzburg, Munich and further into Germany. Later on that day, I also caught the third type of long-distance train, the Czech Comfort Jet. These trains will be running on 3 daily services from Villach to Vienna and directly on to Prague. I did a detailed video about the Czech Comfort Jet on my channel recently. Feel free to watch it after this video. So far, I've focused mainly on the Styrian section of the line and the Koralmtunnel, but the Carinthian side between St. Paul im Lavantal and Klagenfurt is just as interesting to look at. The most striking feature on this line segment is the Lavantal Bridge. Rising 96 metres above the river, it is one of the highest railway bridges in all of Europe. Before the Koralmbahn was built, the area east of Klagenfurt was served by a non-electrified railway branch line known as the Lavantalbahn, which emerged into another line called the Lavantalbahn. Parts of these two lines still exist today and have since been electrified, while others have been replaced entirely by the new Koralmbahn, one of them being the river crossing at the Lavantal Bridge. Formerly a single-track, non-electrified line, the bridge underwent a complete transformation. While the pillars were retained and only slightly refurbished, the supporting structure above was replaced entirely. During construction, the new structure was coupled to the old one and gradually pushed across the bridge from one side to the other. This impressive engineering accomplishment allowed the bridge to reopen again for railway operations in 2023. And it now also includes a pathway for pedestrians and cyclists below the railway tracks. Unfortunately though, when you are on the train itself, you will not even notice when you go over this bridge, as the line is surrounded by noise protection walls on both sides. At least making them transparent so that people can actually see something wouldn't have gone amiss. On the Carinthian side of the Koralmbahn, several new stations were built, replacing the old stations on the former Lavantal and Lavantalbahn. While the new stations offer significantly better facilities than the old ones, they also come with a significant drawback, as they are located further away from the village centres than the old stations they replaced. This is a common challenge when constructing new high-speed railway lines, and therefore there is a need for effective solutions to get passengers to and from these stations. Some measures, such as the introduction of demand-responsive transport, have already been implemented, while others, like providing better cycleways and pedestrian connections, still remain to be implemented in some places. Ultimately, the success of the Koralmbahn will depend not only on fast trains, but also how well these new stations are connected to everyday life in the surrounding communities. With the Koralmbahn now open, a new era is about to start, and we will see in the next few years how this infrastructure project will affect the people in the area, the businesses that will establish themselves here, and how people will move around in their day-to-day lives. But I think it is also important to note that even though the Koralmbahn itself is such a huge infrastructure project, it is also just one piece of what could at some point be an attractive and integrated high-speed rail network that will connect various cities and regions across Europe. What do you think about the Koralmbahn? Are you as excited as I am? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you again in my next video.